Hello, class, and welcome to week 2 of Kin 303. Today, I just want to go over our assignments for this week and then also just go over some of the major topics from chapter 12. So, this week, there's no discussion board, and we just have our quiz, which is 10 questions again, and it'll be worth 30 points, multiple choice, and true and false. And from there, we just have our first activity, which is a mock interview. So this first activity has two parts to it. One is a recording of yourself doing a mock interview, and the other portion is a reflection. So for the mock interview portion, you're going to have to follow the directions found in the document KIN 303 Activity 1, which will look like this. And so the first thing it tells you to do is to click on the link, or you can copy and paste this link, and it'll take you to a page that looks like this, where you're going to have to create a new account if you haven't done this already. Make sure you follow all the directions because it will go step by step, and you're going to answer several questions, and it'll record you. At the very end, as it shows on this document, it's going to ask you if you want to share it, and you're going to have to click on the tab that says share, and it'll present to you a link. So this is a link that you're going to have to copy and paste into the assignment, and that way I can click on it and view the interview for myself. The second portion to this assignment is a 1 to 2 page reflection, which addresses your strengths and the areas that you feel you need to improve as far as interviewing, and also plans of how to improve in the areas where you felt you struggled or that you think you need to improve. And as was the last assignment, it'll have to be APA formatted, and so this will kind of give you a good opportunity to look up some articles or just some sort of research that gives tips on how to improve interviewing skills. So just to be clear, you're going to turn in two different things. When you click on the learning assignment link, you're going to do two things. First, under write submission, this is where you would copy and paste the link to your video interview. And then your Word document that has your reflection on it, you can just attach as a file here. Okay, so if you have any questions on any of the assignments, again, just reach out to me and I'll try to clear anything up that you may need further explanation. So let's go through a couple points on chapter 12. This week you have to read chapters 3 and 12, but I'm only going to cover a few points on chapter 12 today. This chapter discusses a lot about what a professional is, or like their definition of what a professional is and what it takes to become one, specifically in the physical activity arena. And as you can see there, they give you a long list of different professions that you can choose from. They go into more detail in these different chapters for each profession. And then they give you this list of characteristics of a professional, and I found this really interesting because there may be a time where you're going to run into an instructor, maybe a boss, a supervisor, that you're going to notice these characteristics in them, or some of them, and that's going to be really critical for you in your profession. And I think it's important to notice this in your colleagues, your bosses, your supervisors, and your professors, because these are the characteristics that you want to model. You want to make sure that you're reflecting whatever is being taught to you, at least the positive characteristics. And so you need to be aware of this, because these professionals around you can teach you a lot. They can guide you through your career. You have to foster these professional relationships because you'll gain a lot of insight as to what it takes to become a professional. And plus, the better you maintain these relationships, as you begin to apply and interview for the career that you want, these are probably going to be the people that you're going to be looking to vouch for you, as in giving you a letter of recommendation, or when they get called up, that they'll be able to say positive things about you. I can tell you, from an athletic training perspective, the field, the community of athletic training is very small, because some of the preceptors that I had are working at institutions that have students, or some of my students now, and so they'll ask me for feedback on them. And whenever you go to a district meeting or a national meeting, you'll see the same people. You'll get to build these long-lasting relationships. So the community becomes very small. And so, being in the field, for a decade, you get to know a lot of people. And so when my students ask me for a letter of recommendation, or one of my colleagues ask me for feedback on one of my students, it's imperative that that student built a good relationship with me, or they built a good relationship with someone that I know, so that we can vouch for them, that we can say positive things about them. As you go through the chapter, it'll explain to you what professionals need to know, and then also what professionals do. And all that you can read on your own, but some of the things that I wanted to further discuss were um, the high standards and ethical practices that professionals should maintain. Um, I know, as far as the colleagues, and the professionals that I've worked with, we hold each other accountable, because we know that the profession means a lot to us, and we want to make sure that we're conducting ourselves in the highest standards, and that whatever we're teaching, or whatever we're applying clinically, is of that high standard as well. We don't ever want to just assume that we know everything, so we always try to continue our education to make sure that standard is really high. So one of the other things that professionals do, that is kind of related to this slide here, is that professionals share and spread knowledge. They don't just keep it to themselves. They make sure that their colleagues and their students are benefiting from all the research that they do, or the new techniques or practices that they're finding out. And this happens a lot, the sharing and spreading of knowledge at conferences and seminars, that as a student, becoming a professional, you should become aware of. And these conferences help you stay in tune with your profession, as well as your fellow members. I would recommend researching your respective fields association, and trying to become a member, because that's how you really start building these networks, and really displaying that you are in this profession, that you are trying to be an active member of it. Last thing I would talk about, as far as trying to become a professional, is internships. And I think this is a critical part of a student trying to become a professional. I think it's important for everyone, deciding on what profession they want to do, taking an internship or several internships to help you see the day-to-day tasks that are required of the profession you want, because it'll help you really understand what it takes to be and do that job for a living. And it either may reinforce your passion for that profession, or it may help you, maybe stop and reroute where you want your career to go. At the end of this chapter, you're given this list of questions that you're supposed to ask yourself, and you should try to answer these truthfully. And maybe the answer that you give is not the right one, or maybe it's you don't have an answer right now for it. But maybe by the end of this course, you'll have a better idea. You'll be able to answer correctly for the profession that you've chosen. But if you haven't, then at least it'll kind of give you a better understanding of who you are as a professional, and which direction you should take your career. The other thing is that as you develop in your career, as you become an expert in your field, you'll notice that a lot of people begin to change their day-to-day activities, or their day-to-day position. So as an athletic trainer, a lot of ATs will start off as clinicians and then become instructors and then eventually directors. And that's, I think, in most professions, that's a natural progression. I don't think most professionals stay in the same position their whole careers. They grow, they evolve, and they feel like they have more to offer, and maybe they can help the profession in different ways. So that is also normal. That's also normal to change the focus of your career. So that's all I have for you this week. I'm excited to see your guys' video interviews. Try to take it seriously. So I would, wear a suit, whatever business attire you would wear in a real interview, just so you could take it seriously. And I'll try to give you guys feedback on some of that if you guys want it. Otherwise, I'll grade it and I'll give you some minor feedback. But if you want more extensive feedback, I'll definitely do that. So take care. Have a great week, and